It seems our friends over at CNN aren't too concerned about whistleblowers' claims that President Biden took bribes from foreign nationals while serving as vice president.
Joe Biden taking foreign money to shape U.S. policy. Also stunning, I would argue more stunning, the Republicans making this claim admit they have no evidence, just an unverified tip.
So again, these are unverified claims. And we should know that while James Comer has been doing this Biden investigation, he has done plenty of subpoenas quietly outside of the public view. So it was a clear, deliberate political move for him and Chuck Grassley to decide they were going to go out publicly, announce the subpoena publicly with no information at this point to back it up, John.
You're right, calculated decision. Sarah Murray, important reporting. Thank you.
National Security Council spokesman John Kirby was asked to answer to Republican subpoena of the FBI yesterday. Let's watch.
John, I've got a question about House Oversight Committee subpoena that was issued yesterday. It's seeking an FBI document from 2020 that, quote, describes an alleged criminal scheme involving then Vice President Biden and a foreign national relating to the exchange of money for policy decisions. What's the White House's response to this serious corruption allegation?
I'm going to have to refer you to the Justice Department on that. I have nothing for you on that today.
No, do you know what country this pertains to, or what policy decision?
I have nothing for you, sir. I'm going to have to refer you to the Justice Department, and I'm getting the hook. See ya.
All right, let's get into it.
It just sounds like conservative-leaning media networks playing boy who cried wolf. These are unsubstantiated claims. These are claims that certain networks are running as fact and are arguing that something happened that, again, we have no there to show that it has. And I think that the problem that we have here in even part of this conversation is acting as though CNN is working in cahoots. CNN has its own tilt to the right, or has become one with the new president, Chris Lick. We already know where that's kind of going, and they've been quite critical of the Biden administration, a lot about Biden since the new president took over. This is more so, is this newsworthy when you actually don't have evidence to show that there is anything there? It sounds like a lot of gossip playing, and until there is any evidence, just because someone whispered something in your ear isn't the necessity to go around and act as though it is fact.
So I think it's a bold claim that CNN leans right, but let's move over that one to get to the substance of this, right? The one thing that I've agreed with in all that you've said has been we haven't seen the actual evidence, right? But this letter is actually laying out the allegation in this Comer letter is something else. It's that the FBI is refusing to actually move forward in the investigation. So some of these whistleblowers are alleging that the FBI is essentially not moving forward, illegitimately not moving forward because of the political implications for Joe Biden. So that is a serious allegation itself that we should discuss about, whether the FBI is able to conduct investigations in a depoliticized manner. Especially, the FBI, as an aside, the FBI is not actually supposed to conduct investigations in a completely depoliticized manner. The president is still the head of the FBI. And it would be scarier if he wasn't, because we don't want law enforcement with no political oversight whatsoever to the American people, to our elected officials. But leave that aside for a moment, right? They're claiming that this document, right, they claim FD 1023, so they're claiming some existence of this particular document, which seems like an awfully specific thing to lie about. They're saying that's where the evidence for this is. If that's the case, I think what we're going to see is a battle going back and forth now with the FBI. They're going to say, we're not going to be turning over these documents. We're not going to give them to the House Oversight Committee, right? And there's going to be this dance. Now, one important element of that dance, though, is that this letter claims that this document 1023 is not classified. Which cuts out one of the things that the FBI would normally do, is say, we can't release this letter. It's got implications for national security. And so I think that this is something that the American people deserve to see. I don't like seeing selective leaking. I didn't like it when we were talking about Schiff and the Russia investigation, right? I didn't like it then because we saw major differences between what Schiff's office was leaking and then what the transcripts of those interviews actually showed after the fact, when the American people actually got access to it. So I'm in favor of transparency on this. I think the American people need to see some of this. I think it's fine to have this open investigation. That being said, these are still allegations. We don't know what's in this document, and we don't have any evidence because allegedly the evidence is in this document.
Transparency is what we're going to get. And I think that once we do see these documents, it's going to be a whole lot of nothing. The Republican Party and those who are in leadership currently vowed, after Republicans took over the House, that they were going to basically do all that they could to impeach President Joe Biden. We know that that is the case. This is another, feather in the hat for them to try to take Americans on a ride. Again, there is no evidence. We have not been presented with any evidence. This is whispers, and trying to act as though whispers are fact, I think, is extremely problematic. Republicans have time and time again tried to tie Joe Biden to anything and everything of criminality and has always fallen on its face. Here, they're trying to also work to diminish the work of the FBI at the same time. Hell, they've tried to diminish the work of several of our American institutions. We are on a very fast track to an authoritarian slide, which they fully recognize and understand. And I don't think they have a problem with it. If there was there, absolutely. But one of the reasons I believe that the FBI is not jumping on this full-throated is because, quite frankly, they don't have it. Once there is evidence, that's a little bit different. But right now, these are just whisper conversations, and whisper conversations are not fact, and whisper conversations aren't worthy of much of our attention.
So two major points in response to that. One, the institutions have dug their own grave. The reason that most Americans don't trust the FBI is because they have shown in the past that they are not enforcing the law neutrally with regard to either party. And again, like I said, actually, you don't want an FBI that is totally disconnected from the president, because the idea of a law enforcement agency that doesn't have small d democratic oversight is a very scary one that we should not actually want. We shouldn't want J. Edgar Hoover days, right, where the director of the FBI can tell the president, I can just outlast you. But that's a different thing than in treating different political cases differently based on who's in power, or even more correspondingly, right, we know that these agencies actually have a political perspective. Overall, federal employees donated 95% to the Democratic Party in 2016. These are center-left. Now, I'm not arguing that they're like Bernie bros over there in the FBI. They are not, but they do have a political perspective. So that's one. I think institutionally, the institutions have dug their own graves, and there's a reason why the American people do not trust them.
The reason why people on the right in America don't trust them is because they went down the path of investigating Donald Trump for crimes Donald Trump actually committed. The reason why black people and black America has largely disconnected from the FBI and many policing entities is because of the overreach that they have done in the black community. I personally don't have to be lectured on why the FBI has the view that it does throughout history, particularly for communities of color, where we saw the fraud investigations into Aretha Franklin, into Martin Luther King Jr., into Malcolm X, into literally every civil rights leader and civil rights adjacent advocate, just because they wanted to quell that movement.
Then also, why are you giving them a pass on political investigations if you don't trust the FBI?
In this instance, there has not been anything to showcase why they would be pushing to essentially do the bidding that the Republicans want them to do.
Okay, so let's get to the substance of this, because that was the second thing I was going to say. Yes, it's true we don't have that evidence, but that's what this letter is calling for. It's calling for the FBI to actually release this document that allegedly has the evidence in. Now, maybe Republicans are lying to the media. Look, politicians lie to the media all the time. As I said, we've seen selective leaking. We've seen incorrect characterizations during the previous investigations by Schiff and others in the media. I don't think that's the correct way to go about this. But there's one way to find out, which is release the document. The FBI can release this document. It says in this letter it's not classified. And then for the reason that it's not just whispers, it's not like a random occurrence. We know that members of the Biden family, we know the half part of this, right? We know that Hunter Biden and Jim Biden were trading money for influence with foreign powers on the assumption that they had influence with Joe Biden. Now, maybe there's no second half to that. Right? Maybe there's no second half. Maybe Biden wasn't actually trading his influence, and this is something that was separate and has only to do with his son. But we don't know that, and I don't think it's fair to characterize it as whispers when we actually do know that the half of the quid pro quo did happen. We just don't know if the other half happened. So I don't think that's just mere whispers. I think that's a reasonable investigation for the House Oversight Committee to actually get into.
The entire basis that Republicans have of this argument isn't because they care about or want to chase Hunter Biden. They don't. They're trying to connect them, to connect him directly to Joe Biden, of which they have no evidence for, and in many circles they've taken us in, has not happened. This is already an unclassified document, so I presume that it will be released very shortly, and it'll be a big nothing burger like everything else that they have checked for. More Rising after this.